Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Just building on some of the videos I published here recently about my experience with Auto Companion, the website you see here, the rep that I spoke to there, Jaime, on 27 October, and just kind of wanted to walk you guys through some logic that I am actively working through. I have not figured this out yet. You're probably gonna be able to tell that from watching this video. But using so Auto Companion, just real quick for you guys, an auto broker. They have pre-negotiated deals with dealerships for certain types of vehicles. They get discounts off MSRP. They keep the price very compact with just MSRP, doc fees, registration, and taxes. No dealer markups or crazy stuff on the vehicles. And so very, very attractive service that allows me to remove myself from the car searching and negotiating and buying process, which I absolutely dread. So I was really intrigued by Auto Companion. During my call with Jaime, he shared this spreadsheet with me. You guys can see here at the bottom the different models of vehicles that they have. It's not a huge. I mean, you guys can't see it. There's BMW over here, then Lexus, Audi, Nissan, Jeep, Ram, and Volvo. So these are all the cars they have, and I think the low inventory situation that all these dealers are in is reflected here, because normally I think Auto Companion has other cars besides these, but this is all that they can get right now, is my understanding. So when I was looking through this, guys, the model that I had envisioned was zero friction. Like, go to Auto Companion, pick a car or cars, tell them to go get me those cars, sign for those cars, buy those cars, and then either list those cars on Hyrecar and get them off my hands, or, and you guys might want to check out the video that I released called something like Hyrecar versus Avail Plus. So I would either dump them on Hyrecar, or I would dump them on Avail Plus right here. I'm just going to show you guys the website in a long-term sharing arrangement, right? So zero friction, right? Like, I never have to go to a dealer. I never have to deal with a dealer. And maybe I never even have to deal with the person who leases the car from me or rents the car from me, because I would have to do that on Hyrecar, but I wouldn't have to do that on Avail Plus. So having said all that, guys, checking out the business model of doing all that and looking at these cars here, unfortunately, most of these cars don't work well for these platforms. They, you're not going to use BMWs or Lexuses or Audis or Volvos on Hyrecar, for example. You're really going to do better with, gas efficient, economical cars that are fairly inexpensive for me, and don't command too high of a daily rate for the rideshare driver or the person renting the car. So the most, out of all these cars, from the research I've done, the most appropriate vehicle for all of these platforms, could use it on Turo, could use it on Hyrecar, could use it on Avail Plus, would be the Nissan. And in particular, the Nissan Altima. Part of the reason I say that is this article here from Hyrecar, 22 best cars for Uber drivers. Admittedly, a little bit dated, January 2020. You can see right here the Nissan Altima, which we jump down to. Designed for safety, one of the best options you pick. In-mirror, rear-view mirror, aerodynamics, fuel-efficient ride, blah, blah, blah. And I own a Nissan Altima. So I know this car. I've experienced with it. It's a good, solid car. So I said, okay, let me focus on the Nissan Altimas, and let me find the cheapest one possible. So the Altima S, 2022, $26,500 with an MSRP discount of 7.5%. Let's take a look at that, guys. So let's say I go with $26,500 for an Altima times the discounted price, brings to about $24,500. But then you got to add back in doc fees, registration, and taxes. So let's just call it, this is probably wrong, but let's just call it another $2,000. Okay, and let's refresh that and just make this $26,500. So a Nissan Altima is going to cost me $26,500 to then use on these platforms. So then just using my phone, I have an app on the phone that does loan calculations. So I just plug in $26,500 over 7 years at, let's say, 5.3%. The reason I said 5.3% is that's the latest number that I saw from USAA, 5.3% interest rate. That creates a monthly payment of $378. So at $378 a month, it essentially removes Avail Plus as an option, because when you guys check out my review of Avail Plus, and I'll skip right to it, Avail Plus was at the maximum extent, from my understanding, the most I was going to earn per month off of Avail Plus was about $500 a month. I may have that wrong. It may actually be too high. But my understanding is if I gave Avail Plus a car for 12 months, I'd here, take my car, I don't want it, use it for 12 months, give me the highest bonus possible, blah, 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 I'd probably walk away with about $500 a month. So $500 a month minus the $378 monthly payment on the Ultima equals $122 a month. I mean, I need 50 cars for this to even move the needle. So not viable for Avail Plus. If I listed it on Hyrecar, and rent it out at $38 a day, times 30 days a month, $1,140 or so. Let's just call it $1,100 just to make it even, minus $378. So could have a substantial return there on Hyrecar with the Ultima. But the issue, of course, would be there's also insurance and so forth here. So you got to take at least some factor of that out. Maybe I'm back in the 500s or so. I'm not even sure I accounted for the Hyrecar fee there. But just literally, you guys are watching me make sausage here because I don't really know all the answers to these questions. I'm literally working through them real time as I'm making these videos in some cases. And so this is something that is a challenge about this model, or these profit margins. When you really start looking at numbers and figuring out how you're going to do this, those profit margins kind of shrink a little bit. When I look at something like this, Auto Companion would be a great way for me to obtain cars, but then they'd be too expensive. And if I look at something like the Kia Rio, which is where I was looking initially, which I now have learned that's a subcompact vehicle that could not be used on Avail. They won't even list it on Avail. And I've got to use the Kia Rio on Hyrecar. And of course, Hyrecar has some issues associated with it, as I mentioned to you guys in a couple videos back about some of the information that Jaime at Auto Companion gave me about Hyrecar and how much of a nightmare it was for his brother-in-law. So just wanted to work through that real time with you guys, show you what I'm thinking, show you that more than likely with this inventory, with these options, Auto Companion is not viable for me. I'd hope they were. I kind of thought they were after I spoke to Jaime on the 27th, but looking at the numbers a little bit closer, the lowest end that I can get, the most sensible car for my business model is this Ultima S because of the pricing on it and the discount and so forth and the type of car that it is. And it's totally not going to work on Avail Plus if I understand their rewards, what you make on Avail Plus, just not going to justify it. And then that leaves me kind of stuck on Hyrecar because when I check Turo, an Ultima S in my area on Turo is not going to make that much money either. It's maybe at the top end, maybe several $100s a month. But then I'm looking at even more turnover. And I've got an Ultima on Turo that I've got to check people in and out fairly frequently, and that sort of thing. And so you get eaten up time-wise there. So not sure where I'm going to go with this, guys, but just wanted you to see me kind of do a real-time calculation of whether it makes sense for me to use Auto Companion in conjunction with Hyrecar, in conjunction with Avail Plus. If you guys have any questions, comments, insight, corrections, drop them in the comments below. Would definitely like to hear from you. But a lot of stuff to work through, a lot of stuff to figure out here. We'll have more videos on this in the future. Also, while you're down there commenting, please hit the subscribe button. Greatly appreciate it. Hopefully this is delivering some value to you guys, giving you some insight on the initial difficulties, question marks, things like that about building a business model like this, doing a rental fleet. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it.